Baseball has seen its share of ugly moments throughout its long and storied history. But what happened during the Dodgers and Red Sox series at Dodger Stadium has sent shockwaves through the entire sport in a way that nobody in the game was prepared for. Red Sox outfielder Jarren Duran was involved in a brutal incident directed at Shohei Ohtani that was captured in full by the television cameras broadcasting the game to millions of viewers across the country. The moment was sudden. It was violent. And it was completely and utterly inexcusable. By the time the dust had settled and the full weight of what had just happened became clear to everyone watching, MLB had already begun moving toward a decision that would shake the baseball world to its very core. What exactly did Jarren Duran do to Shohei Ohtani during that game? Why did it happen in such a public and shocking way? And how did MLB respond with a punishment so severe that it immediately became the most talked about disciplinary decision the league has ever handed down? These are the questions that have taken over every baseball conversation from coast to coast since the moment this unbelievable incident unfolded live on national television. To understand how things reached this point, it is important to know the full picture of what had been building between Jarren Duran and the Dodgers organization in the days leading up to this moment. Duran had already made headlines earlier in the week for a visible and animated outburst in the dugout during a game against the Athletics, where he directed his frustration at a teammate in a way that was clearly captured by television cameras and immediately condemned by broadcasters covering the game live. Radio announcer Will Fleming called the behavior unacceptable on air. His broadcast partner Lenny DiNardo agreed without hesitation. Red Sox interim manager Chad Tracy had attempted to downplay the episode publicly, telling reporters that everything inside the clubhouse was fine and that there was more to the situation than what was being reported. But the baseball world was not convinced, and the tension surrounding Duran had not disappeared. If anything, it had quietly grown stronger with every passing day. When the Red Sox arrived at Dodger Stadium to face Los Angeles, the atmosphere was already charged with the kind of intensity that only comes when two high-stakes teams meet at a critical point in the season. The Dodgers were determined to protect their home field. The Red Sox were riding one of the most remarkable stretches of baseball their franchise had seen in decades, having gone an almost unbelievable 21 wins against just 4 losses in the month of July alone. The stage was set for a series that every baseball fan knew would carry enormous meaning. But nobody could have predicted that the defining moment of this series would have nothing to do with a pitch, a swing, or a stolen base. Shohei Ohtani had already shown the crowd why he is the most feared hitter in the game. He had launched his 24th home run of the season in this very series, a towering 2-run blast that had the Dodger Stadium crowd on its feet and roaring with excitement. His presence on the field brought a level of electricity that no other player in baseball can generate. Every single at-bat from Ohtani carried the feeling that something historic could happen at any moment. The Red Sox pitching staff had been extremely careful in how they approached him, knowing full well the kind of damage he was capable of inflicting on any team in the league. It was during one of those moments of high tension on the field that Jarren Duran did something that immediately silenced the entire stadium. The incident happened with a speed and a violence that left everyone watching completely frozen. What the cameras captured in real time was so clear and so undeniable that there was no room for interpretation, no possibility of confusion about what had just taken place. Duran's action toward Ohtani was direct, physical, and brutal in a way that had absolutely no place on a baseball field at any level of the game. Players in both dugouts reacted instantly. Coaches surged toward the field. The crowd inside Dodger Stadium erupted with a combination of shock, outrage, and disbelief that echoed throughout every corner of the ballpark. Security personnel were on the field within seconds, doing everything in their power to prevent the situation from exploding into something even more dangerous. Ohtani, as he always does in moments of adversity, responded with a composure that left everyone watching in quiet admiration. Despite what had just been done to him in front of thousands of fans and millions of television viewers, the Japanese superstar did not retaliate. He did not escalate. He absorbed what happened, stood his ground with the kind of quiet dignity that has defined his entire career, and allowed the people around him to manage the situation. It was a display of character that made the contrast between him and Duran impossible to ignore. Manager Dave Roberts walked to the post-game podium with an expression on his face that those covering the Dodgers had rarely seen before. There was no hesitation in his voice and no attempt to soften what he was about to say. Roberts stated clearly and directly that what Jarren Duran did to Shohei Ohtani was one of the most disgraceful things he had witnessed in his years in professional baseball. He said that the incident was not the result of competitive intensity or in-game frustration. It was something far beyond that. Something entirely unacceptable. What happened out there tonight has no place in this game, Roberts said without flinching. Shohei handled it the way Shohei handles everything, with class and professionalism. But that does not make what was done to him even slightly acceptable. I expect MLB to respond to this with the full weight that a situation like this deserves. Roberts confirmed that he had already been in direct contact with the league office following the incident and that the Dodgers organization had submitted a formal request for the most serious disciplinary action available under the rules of Major League Baseball. He said that Ohtani had been examined by the team's medical staff immediately after the incident and that the organization was monitoring his condition closely. Roberts refused to go into specific details about Ohtani's physical state but made clear that the well-being of his superstar was the organization's absolute top priority. Freddie Freeman, sitting quietly in the clubhouse after the game, described the moment the incident happened as one of the most jarring things he had experienced during his entire professional career. Freeman said that his immediate reaction was one of complete disbelief, because nobody on the Dodgers roster had seen anything like that coming. He said that several players had to be physically restrained from responding to what they had just witnessed happen to their teammate, and that the emotional intensity in the Dodgers dugout in those seconds was something he would not forget for a very long time. When something like that happens to your teammate, to Shohei, of all people, you feel it in a way that is very hard to put into words, Freeman said. He gives everything to this game every single day. He treats every person in that clubhouse with respect. And to see something like that happen to him on live television in front of everyone is something that genuinely shakes you. Mookie Betts revealed that after the game, the Dodgers clubhouse was one of the quietest he had ever experienced following any game this season. He said that players who are normally loud and energetic after a game were simply sitting in silence, still processing the gravity of what they had witnessed. Betts said that Ohtani himself said very little following the incident, which Betts described as actually being more powerful than any emotional outburst could have been. He said that the entire team drew strength from watching their biggest star respond to an ugly and violent moment with complete and unshakable calmness. That is who Shohei is, Betts said. He never gives anyone the satisfaction of seeing him rattled. And honestly, watching him handle it the way he did made every single one of us want to be better. Shortly after the final out of the game, Major League Baseball released an official statement confirming that the league had launched an immediate and comprehensive investigation into the incident involving Jarren Duran and Shohei Ohtani. The statement said that the commissioner's office had reviewed all available video evidence and had conducted preliminary conversations with officials, players, and team representatives from both sides. The league confirmed that based on the clarity of what the footage showed and the severity of the action involved, MLB was prepared to hand down the most significant disciplinary ruling it had issued against a position player in the modern era of the sport. The announcement came swiftly and with a weight that silenced the entire baseball world. Major League Baseball officially suspended Jarren Duran indefinitely, with league sources confirming that the suspension was being treated as a lifetime ban pending the outcome of a formal appeals process. It was a decision of historic proportions, one that sent an unmistakable message to every player and every organization across the league that violent conduct directed at a fellow player would be met with consequences so severe that no player could afford to ignore them. For Shohei Ohtani, this chapter in what has already been an extraordinary and emotionally complex season will eventually pass. Because what defines him is not the adversity he faces, it is the way he rises above it every single time. His response to this brutal and shocking incident was yet another reminder of why he is not just the greatest player in baseball today, but one of the most admired figures in all of professional sports. The baseball world now watches and waits to see what comes next. But one thing is already certain. What Jarren Duran did to Shohei Ohtani on that field will never be forgotten. And MLB has made sure that the consequences will last just as long. Thank you for watching. Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. Subscribe to our channel for more interesting and up-to-date coverage of everything happening in Major League Baseball.